evening, I'm Nicholas Hoare. I have the great pleasure of introducing 3 books this evening, each of which in its individual way is unique, and all of which are eminently readable and great fun. We have 2 pieces of non-fiction, and we have an excellent brand new novel. And I think we'll start with the novel purely because I have to issue a disclaimer at the outset. We are not given to promoting bestsellers as a rule, and we like to find the type of book that slips through the cracks rather than falls comfortably on its feet. In this particular case, this particular book is an exception because it is well written. This is no Danielle Steele. This is no Robert Ludlum. It is in fact the brand new Martin Amis. And I would like to start by showing you how a book can be written, how it should be written, and how delightful it is to handle a bestseller that really is worthy of the name. The Pregnant Widow, unfortunate title, but you'll see the connotation in a moment, is the story of society at a crossroads. It's set in 1970, and it concerns a young man who comes in at the thrust, the onset of this silly season, and who learns to deal with it. It's the introduction of sexual freedom. It's the introduction of a whole new set of rules. It's very intelligently written. It's very humorously written. And Martin Amis, who has tongue clearly firmly in cheek, has done it again. So anybody who wishes to read a good, fat, beefy book, contemporary in the extreme, but at the same time set 40-odd years ago, would do a lot worse than to read this splendid book, which is brand new and which will, I'm sure, dot all the bestseller lists in Christendom in no time flat, but which nonetheless deserves to be discussed on evenings such as this. The Pregnant Widow by Martin Amis. Highly recommended. My second book, which is a complete departure, is very well liked by our organization, and it is called Up and Down Stairs by a charming individual called Jeremy Musson. Jeremy Musson has described in a very clever way and a very social way the sort of thing that went on in most, if not all, British country houses many moons ago, when politics was open and free, when the world was completely laid back and leisured. It is the country servant brought back to life from the inside, and this is in fact the epitome of social history when it covers areas that have not been properly surveyed. Up and Down Stairs, Jeremy Musson, is in fact the inside view of the sort of thing that went on years ago with Upstairs, Downstairs, a lovely series which ran on PBS. You may remember it, and I hope you do, and I think it's still on DVD, if I can recall it, but I believe it is. Highly recommended also. But this particular book, Up and Downstairs, is the other side of the coin to the exclusion of Upstairs, and it's extremely well written. So there you are, Up and Downstairs, Jeremy Musson, subtitled The History of the Country House Servant. And the third and final book this evening is a wonderful tome, long overdue, by a gentleman called Michael Bloch. And he has written a biography of the diarist extraordinaire, James Lees Milne. James Lees Milne is not nearly as well known on these shores as he should be, but in his heyday, when he was chiefly responsible for running the National Trust in England, he had access, speaking of country houses, to just about all the estates of any significance at all in the country. And because of British tax laws, it became incumbent on the incumbents to make sure that they had actually entrusted their properties and their concerns to good, thoroughly well-run organizations before they blew up. And James Lees Milne was the ambassador extraordinaire who went from spot to spot, place to place, and wrote about it. And the diaries are masterpieces of their type, 5 volumes in all, also edited by his estate trustee, whose name is Michael Bloch. And Michael has written James Lees Milne's biography. This is an extremely interesting inside study of what my old man would refer to somebody who is ambidextrous. He was a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but at the same time married to a hugely influential lady and who managed to make himself a tremendous legacy. James Lees Milne, The Life, Michael Bloch, biography at its very best. And for those of you who haven't read the diaries, it doesn't really matter which volume you take, each of them is thoroughly and highly recommended. And on that cheerful note, good night.